What did Elizabeth I smell like? These are the kind of questions that perplex me and keep me up at night, and I'm going to try and answer this one today. Like, if you could get really close to her and give her a good sniffing, like, what did she smell like? But before we can get into that, I have to address a rather pernicious myth that has been doing the rounds about this particular woman for a very, very long time. Namely, that she only bathed once or twice a month, whether she needed to or not. I have seen that being repeated on documentaries, I've seen it written up in history books, and there is no evidence from the time to support that whatsoever. In fact, there's quite a lot of evidence to the contrary. It is a common misconception that people in the past absolutely stunk and just didn't care about it. Now, they didn't have the same things that we have available to us today to stay as clean as we do, but that doesn't mean that they weren't really, really worried about not smelling bad, because they were. And because it was very easy to not smell good at this particular time, because they didn't have running water and Febreze, for example, there was a real paranoia about not smelling good. People tried really, really hard. They were chewing herbs, they were rubbing themselves with lavender, they were doing everything that they could, as would you and I, to not smell bad. And this is the Queen. This is the Queen. She's going to do everything in her power to not stink. What's more, we know that she liked bathing. We know that. She had bathrooms built. She had what was kind of like a sauna built. I think that one was at Hampton Court, Hampton Palace, that was tiled, and she'd have steamed water pumped in there. She'd have music played to her as she bathed. So this is a woman that likes a soak in the tub. We don't know how often she did this, but even if she's not luxuriating in hot water for hours and hours every single day, she probably cleaned herself every day, even if that was a bowl full of hot water and oils and linen rags. She's just not going to be walking around covered in mud and stinking. So we can put that one to bed right now. Okay, so what did she smell like? Well, the first thing that you need to know is that at this point in history, everybody is as heavily perfumed as they possibly can be, regardless of status. If you couldn't afford the oils, you would use herbs. And the reason for that is because there were a lot of very, very bad smells at the time. Open sewers, animal waste in the streets. So there was a lot of bad smells, so people covered themselves, doused themselves in perfume to try and get rid of the bad smells. So she would definitely have been very heavily perfumed. Imagine if you've ever been around somebody who's wearing far, far too much perfume, but I think you probably would have got a bit nearer and just got far. Oh, wow, okay, wow, that is a strong smell, Elizabeth. She probably would have smelt quite musky, because in the reign of her father, Henry VIII, we start getting new and exotic perfume ingredients turning up. Civet, ambergris, things that make this kind of heavy musk. Henry VIII had perfumes made out of civet musk. She probably would have done too. Rose water was a perennial favourite at the time, also because Tudor rose, it's the symbol of this particular dynasty, so there would have been a lot of rose water being used. And according to this book, which was originally published in 1655, Elizabeth did have a perfume that she liked to wear. We don't have this in her own voice or in her own hands, but this book swears down that the Queen has agreed for all of these recipes to go in and that she knew all about them, so it's as close as we're going to get. And here it is. Alright, so you're going to take some compound water, and I would put money on the fact that they used rose water for this one, and you're going to mix in some sugar, you're going to boil it all up, and then your two main perfume notes are going to be marjoram, which is a herb, and it's got a kind of a citrusy, pine-like smell to it, and then powder of benjamin is what it calls it here, but that is benzoin. And benzoin is a resin that you obtain from trees, and it's renowned for a very sweet, vanilla-like smell. And apparently this was her favourite perfume water. So it's kind of herby and citrusy, and there'd be some rose water in there, and it would have a sweet vanilla to it. And she would have had her clothes steeped in it, she'd probably had it put through her hair, on her body, she might have even bathed in that. So Elizabeth I probably smelt quite sweet, but also a bit musky. But whatever she was wearing, she would have worn an awful lot of it, because one of the rumours about Elizabeth that I can't really help her with is the fact that her teeth rotted as she got older. They absolutely did, so there would have been some breath problems, and I would have put money on the fact that she would have worn even more of this perfume to compensate for that. So at the very least, we have to say that this woman is something of an olfactory assault course. But there you go, thyme, citrus, vanilla, rose water, and maybe bad breath too.